So next we're going to be talking about all of the stuff that happened at SDCC, like we talked about earlier. But first, we're going to be discussing the boys panel that happened, and not a ton was announced at this panel, but some exciting things for sure. First, we're going to talk about the fact that there is a Fought Rising prequel series happening with both Jensen Ackles and Aya Cash set to return. It will be a murder mystery set around the origins of Vought. And I think it'll be kind of exploring the kind of like the maniacal maneuvers of Stormfront / Liberty and in the origins of Soldier Boy. And I think that's insanely exciting because I think all the boys fans missed Soldier Boy this last season. And any more of Soldier Boy, I am here for.
I'm excited for this. I'm curious if Soldier Boy can carry a show solely on his own, because I think he works pretty great as like a really misogynistic, terrible, person, like supporting character that we follow along. But I am interested. I know that like Aya Cash is Stormfront. I really like her. I thought she was a great addition to the boys.
She was, and to see her as Liberty back in the day would be super cool,
right? And also, obviously we'll probably find out she's a Nazi somewhere in there, and it'll be oh my god.
Right. You'll be seeing her like her plan evolve of like her kind of like white genocide like anti thing, right? So
I was gonna say, God, what was it? Did we ever find out who Homelander's mother was, or was he just born?
I think
he's part human, right? He's not.
I don't know, because like I guess I had thought that Homelander was born just out of like that somehow like Vought got his sperm, because Soldier Boy never knew he had a son,
right?
So it makes me think that like he wouldn't have had a mother, but I don't know.
So okay, in reality, he and the rest of the original roster of the Seven were grown in a secret laboratory, the progeny of genetic material taken from Stormfront, who was injected with Compound V while still a member of the Hitler Youth. He was artificially through Soldier Boy's sperm in an unknown woman's egg.
Okay.
Which I don't want this to be the case, but considering that Stormfront and Soldier Boy did start the first Herogasm, and we are probably going to see it from all accounts from Eric Kripke in this show. Is it possible that
she is
Stormfront could be his or grandmother, or I don't know, but like
I hate that so much, Zach, because of what happened in season 2.
I know.
I hate that
I know. I don't want it to happen. I'm just saying, like it could also. Man. But anyways,
it could. The Boys is a very twisted universe, and that could easily happen. But I don't know. I mean, I definitely think we're gonna get Herogasm, like the origin of that in that season. I still think
like a 1950s, era of like superheroes could be really fun to see.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think that'll be great. And like to see the rising of Vought, I think is going to be really exciting, and to see how they came about. But with like in regard to your mother question, I think it would benefit, I think, the story to have for Homelander to have a human mother, because I do believe like there are times where Homelander can't escape the human aspect of himself, where he needs love and attention, and like in this latest season we saw that he was graying quite a bit, as a human would. Whereas like Soldier Boy and Stormfront haven't really ever aged, So I think there are human aspects about him.
Maybe they
Yeah.
won't even like have that sort of relationship, and they just started it, for their.
Oh, I
I
could
don't
see
know.
them for sure doing it. Like I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe that was confirmed. I can't remember.
What was confirmed?
I don't know if it was confirmed that they used to have relations or not.
No, but I feel like it's pretty heavily implied. If they started, like, if both of them are the co-founders of HeroGasm, then they probably did. Yeah.
Anyways, I think it's cool. I wasn't expecting it at all.
No, not at all.
I'm happy to see more Stormfront, more Soldier Boy.
I think it's brilliant because I don't necessarily want more shows in the current universe, but to give us more content for the boys and for it to give us an inside look at Vought and to give us a fan favorite character returning. Like I feel like it's a brilliant move.
Yeah. And then we also got the announcement that, we already kind of figured with the post credits of season 4 that Soldier Boy was going to be a part of the final season, but we got confirmation that he would be a significant part of the final season. And the quote, there's a lot of good father-son emotion between him and Homelander that we never really got a chance to play that we're really interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, they really only got it maybe for a little bit at the last episode when they met each other, and
it was barely much, but it's like a few lines.
Yeah, I'd love to see him deal with his, you're like a mama's boy sort of like, disappointment kind of person, and then like how that whole relationship evolves, and maybe Homelander kind of impresses him at some point. I don't fucking know, but
I think it's very much going to be Homelander replacing his like relationship with Ryan and like using like Soldier Boy as his new like source for like love and attention, right?
Yeah.
And I think he like Homelander craves family. So I think like regardless that Soldier Boy hurt his feelings at the end of that season 3 finale, I think he's going to be willing to forgive like open arms, Yeah. So exciting season 5 on the way. We got confirmation that Gen V season 2 comes out next year. And we got confirmation that The Boys Mexico is still in early development. So don't really know much about that yet, but we still have 3 other spinoff shows that are supposed to be releasing and coming out after The Boys even ends. So cool stuff.
I hope The Boys Mexico is kind of like a play on Narcos, where it'll be like Narcos Mexico or I forget what the other Narcos shows.
You're thinking like
called.
use soups and like the drug cartel kind of stories.
Potentially, yeah.
Right,
like there's Narcos, there's Narcos Mexico. Oh God, El Chapo, maybe, I don't know, but I know there's definitely Narcos Mexico,
okay.
Which would be kind of interesting if they wanted to go into like a soup underground crime or drug or gang sort of thing. I don't know.
It'd be really fun. Yeah. So a lot of exciting stuff on the way for the boys.
Yeah,
looking forward to it. Well, our next panel, we're going to talk about not much really, or I don't know. I think you said we can't really even call it a panel per se.
Yeah, you can't really call it a presence or a
presentation,
panel,
right? Yeah. But basically, we got a couple of things shown off this weekend for DC. First being they announced their new DC logo and DC logo animation for
quote unquote new. Let's be clear.
Quote, right. But it's, even James Gunn said in the announcement, if you're a longtime DC fan, then you'll know this logo. It's it really is going back to the heyday of DC Comics, and I love that logo and the animation of like the old classic Superman breaking the chains, then it reversing. I don't know. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. I was telling Ian that first of all. Maybe I'll just rewind the logo for the studios. We had the logo that they picked from like the mid 1970s up until like 2005 or so.
Yeah.
So for the majority of a lot of like the classic, what we know today, DC material, stuff that I grew up looking at was that logo.
Yeah.
And then they switched it to, I think it was like the DC with like the swirl.
Oh yeah, you're right. And then afterwards came the little like page flip,
the
one,
page
right?
turn, which was like around the New 52.
Yeah,
and then we had the like just the bright blue like blocked lettering of the DC, like what they would say quote unquote DC Studios, which was all the DC like media stuff that came out. And it was like, it's fine. It kind of looks like they were just trying to be like Marvel in a way.
Sure.
But like the thing is, I do like that swirl one that they had for like,
a few
maybe
years, 5, 7 years, right?
It's like,
yeah, it's longer,
like
I guess.
8 to 10, I think, like that. I always like that one too. That one would have been cool. But this is like classic. It's the same way that like Marvel has always kind of had that same logo. So it's like, why even change it?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was saying about the animation that I do like that the version that we get is like classic, maybe first Superman.
It could be.
I don't know for certain, and maybe that's you can say I'm a fake DC fan. I don't know anything. I'm sorry, but I
can't know everything.
The action of him breaking the chain and it's switching around is great.
Yeah.
I'm curious if like they'll do that for like so we get the James Gunn Superman, we get Superman breaking the chain, swip. I wonder if we could get the same thing for like a Supergirl, and it's like a Supergirl animation or like a Batman animation
with classic like artwork, right?
I think that would be fun. Honestly.
I think it would be like really fun to see, especially like you would go into each movie thinking, oh, what are they going to do this time? What are they going to do with my favorite character?
Yeah, and like even let's say they do a sequel to Superman, we get a different Superman from the comics animation,
right?
Or like a comic that was heavily inspired for this movie.
Sure, that'd be great
the movie
too.
that was heavily inspired by the comic,
Right,
like
right.
And James Gunn has already like been heavily vocal about wanting to share the comics that have been inspiring.
One of the first things he ever did. Yeah.
So I would like that. If we just stay with Superman, totally fine.
Totally fine, because it looks great. But if we want to keep going and be creative with it, that's great too.
What's crazy is this is such a simple, short animation. And maybe they'll update it as the years go on.
Yeah. But it's quick and to the point. Yeah.
But it's I like it better than the silhouetted DC like animation that we got for all the DCU movies. Like I was never like crazy about that one.
Sure. I feel you.
It was fine. Like I don't hate it. I don't think it's bad. But like there's something about this that's like, oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. I will say though, like in comparison to like what the MCU has, I think it's so hard to beat that, because like I don't know, like it really is a hype mover. Like before the movie starts, I don't know, it's got great music, great visuals. It like it dissects the logo. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to beat that. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like that DCU like silhouettes and like animated version, like maybe CGI versions of those characters is kind of trying to do that.
No,
Marvel
I agree.
Thing.
It is. But I don't think either of these like the new version or that version like beats what Marvel has. But I'm still happy with what DC has now.
Yeah, but I think like the thing for me is DC's doing its own thing.
Sure, it is now, right? Yeah.
And that it's going to be all the better for it.
Sure. Yes. Agreed.
You know?
Yeah. Totally agree.
So like Marvel's got the, the big like dun 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 dun, and it's like cool. That's great. Like I love it.
I love it.
And now DC's gonna have its own thing that it does. Maybe it's not the intro. Like we don't have a hyped up intro, but we have something else that occurs that we're like, awesome. It's doing its own thing.
Yeah. Shows us that we're in the classic age of superheroes in a sense. Yeah.
Like just do what you're both best at. Like don't try to copy each other.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing that we want to talk about it there, we can't call it a presentation, but the other thing that they showed was that it was they showed the Creature Commandos trailer, which I'm so happy to see. The we got a pretty big revelation in this trailer, at least for me. But basically, it starts off with Rick Flag being introduced to
Senior.
Rick Flag Senior, I should say. Sorry, he's talking with Waller, who I feel like he should be mad at because she kind of caused his son's death in a sense.
Maybe he doesn't know that.
He probably doesn't know that. Yeah. But yeah, so she's introducing him to what is now Task Force M, which she calls them later in the trailer. But basically, like she says that I should say Rick Flag says, I thought Congress put a stop to all of the Task Force X activities. And so like to me, that shows that I think what happened at the end of Peacemaker season 1 is like going to impact this show. I don't really understand how like that canon is in this universe, but I think we'll get the explanation there. And so clearly she's not allowed to make Task Force X anymore, but she says the ruling was that we can't use human prisoners, and none of these people are humans.
Yep.
So they are Task Force M.
Did we say that this is for Creature Commandos?
Yes, I said Creature Commandos. Yeah. So, she calls them Task Force M for Task Force Monster, and or their Creature Commandos is the name, like they were called Suicide Squad and Task Force X. So, besides that, I thought the humor was enjoyable and the animation and the artwork looked really great.
Yeah. And
I don't know, the vibes of this whole trailer with the music and everything, I was just so excited to see this in December.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I'm so happy I get to see this in December, and probably around the same time that we're going to get Harley Quinn season 5, which I'll get to see probably 2 DC shows that I've been super excited about.
Yeah. DC animation.
And by the way, besides Kite Man, which like the jury's still out, I watched.
Yeah, I'm not positive on that one.
I watched the first episode and was like,
oh yeah, okay,
I'll try the next 2. But besides Kite Man, which I think is maybe a bit of a misstep, My Adventures with Superman, my God, season 2 was perfect.
I'm gonna have to catch up.
Season 2 was one of the best seasons of like an animated show I've ever fucking seen.
Wow.
I was brought to tears in the last episode. It's so good. And
all right. Yeah.
I don't know if this show is gonna maybe do that, but like you said, the animation looks great. I love this idea of and I love these characters.
Right.
They're so interesting. I mean, you already kind of know Bride of Frankenstein and Frankenstein, like who they are, but there'll probably be a little bit of a twist, I'm assuming.
Right. No, for sure. But I really love seeing I thought like Dr. Phosphorus was hilarious, and like Weasel looks
G.I.
great.
Robot.
G.I. Robot, yeah, I love his voice and his look, and I mean it's really done well. I'm really impressed.
And I'm really excited to see if there's any inkling of like what's to come with, like what sort of world building we're going to be introduced to in this show.
I mean, we already got some world building in the trailer alone,
That's true.
So I think we're going to get some serious world building and explanations of what Waller's up to and what her goal is. And I think it'll lead probably right into Peacemaker season 2. What I'm going to assume.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah. So great universe. I think we're already on a great start and excited for December for sure. Yeah. Well, so now we're on to probably the biggest news or the biggest panel of the weekend for San Diego Comic-Con, which is the Marvel MCU panel. First, they showed some new footage for Captain America: Brave New World. Basically, the trailer that was shown, or I don't know if it was exclusive footage or a trailer, but we got the confirmation that Celestials are made out of adamantium, and we have this big speech with President Ross and him saying that the Celestial came out of the ground, and that like a bunch of governments now want the metal inside this Celestial.
And what I was reading was that he wants to share the wealth of the adamantium with like the world, and that's why he wants to put the Avengers together instead of all these governments trying to like fight for it, I guess.
Right.
And by the way, I don't know like who came up with the theory, but for months that was the theory that like Tiamat either was inherently made of adamantium, or when Cersei turned him into, stone or whatever the fuck,
right,
now became adamantium. And if we're assuming that adamantium is going to be the same level of strength as vibranium, and we already know how people want vibranium,
I feel like
fucking anything.
From what I've heard, adamantium is stronger than vibranium. I could be wrong though.
Everything that I've seen, it's like it's just as strong.
Okay.
I don't know.
Sure.
But
maybe the MCU will do one or the other, or just do the exact like it's just as strong.
Yeah, just as strong. Yeah.
I think it would be exciting to have one be better than the other. I wouldn't really be opposed as to which one, but
yeah.
But yeah, I think it's exciting for so many of us who have been so frustrated that Tiamat's never been mentioned, and that this big celestial out of the earth has never been mentioned. And now we have like it being a center plot for this movie.
I love it.
So I love it too. We also got in this exclusive footage that President Ross is giving a speech in front of the White House, and that's when he turns into Red Hulk and is like fighting Captain America and the cherry blossoms. So that's going to be a really exciting scene. We also got
probably the end of his candidacy.
Yeah.
I don't know how people would be crazy about like, oh, well, our president turns into a Red Hulk.
Yeah, he might be impeached. Yeah.
That might
pretty possible.
Be a problem for if he goes to the UN and he's like, well, I hope.
Yeah, he'd be a security risk. I mean, like you couldn't take him anywhere.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, so then we also like Giancarlo Esposito's character has been confirmed to be Sidewinder, who will be the king of the Serpent Society. I know like in the past week or so, like leakers have reported that he'll be this character called George Washington Bridge.
Yeah.
But no one really got it right. It was Sidewinder, and I don't really know anything about the King of the Serpent Society or the Serpent Society too much. So
and it was interesting they brought up that he was exclusively shot with the reshoots in mind. So
right. It'll
be interesting to see why
how big of a plot right he is, or yeah.
But I also don't know that much about the Serpent Society, other than back when I think it was Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
It was either Civil War or Winter Soldier, but I think it was Civil War. Back when there was like a bunch of hype, like, oh my God, what's going to be the next Captain America movie?
Mm-hmm.
The rumor, one of the websites that had been created was like Captain America Serpent Society.
I remember that.
And everyone was like, oh my God.
Because that sounds super dope. Yeah.
Yeah. And if people had watched Invincible season 2, we do get kind of their like the Invincible version of like Serpent Society, which is like all these snake related superhero or super villains. And I don't know like again that much other than like Sidewinder. Snake name? Is there a
like,
Sidewinder
from what I
snake?
know,
I don't know, but
like Sidewinder doesn't look like anything like a human from what I can tell, so maybe Giancarlo Esposito turns into an amphibious kind of snake-like serpent creature.
Or maybe
I don't know.
Just like really shady, slithery morals, and that's why they call this out.
Which I don't mind. But I mean, if you want to be a snake in the grass, but like it's fine.
It would. I'm curious. Maybe he's not like super powered yet.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Like in the movie, he'll gain his abilities and then he'll get his own show, which he's like Giancarlo Esposito said he'll have a show after this. So.
Right. And I think that the show, if it's not, you know what it might be?
What?
If it's not, we're going to get a Serpent Society show, which I find to be a little shaky. Like, I don't know about the plausibility of that.
I think he'll be the villain of a show. I'm not sure we'll get like him as the hero, you know?
Right. Or they would be in the villain of a show, which could be maybe a Captain America and the Falcon season 2.
Right. Because I don't know if most people know this.
But I find it a little weird to like have, all right, so TV to movie to back to TV.
Yeah, it's not what Marvel set out to do, because like in the beginning of the Disney Plus shows, they were like, yeah, these are just bonus like material for the MCU. You could go through the MCU and never watch these and it would be fine.
Right.
Which I don't think is the case anymore, because you literally have to watch Miss Marvel to watch the Marvels. But I do think that, oh gosh, what was I going to say? That oh my gosh, I don't know. I'll come back to me unless you have something.
Yeah, no, well, no, I mean, it's not what they intended to go back, like to have happen. They wanted the Disney Plus shows to just be things that you could watch and have a good time. And some of it would lead into it, but it's not necessary viewing material. But even then, like a lot of Marvel movies weren't necessary viewing material for other products. Like you could technically jump into an Infinity War, and a lot of people said I didn't really have any issues following what happened. Hannah with the TVA watching Deadpool and Wolverine did not know a single thing about the TVA. Explained it pretty beautifully.
Right.
Didn't need any of that history, but the history's there if you want to go, watch it.
Totally agree.
But I want to know what the series would be. I don't know if it would be like, okay, maybe the Serpent Society is in Wonder Man. Maybe the Serpent Society is in a Captain America and the Falcon season 2. But I find it a little strange to have like Anthony Mackie now go back to a TV role as Captain America.
I agree that would be a mistake. Like I think he should be fully for the movies now. Like you gave him a setup with a TV show that technically you don't really need. It's really nice context, I think.
Yeah.
And I think if you were going to do it, like, I don't really want another new show for the MCU. I think that would be a mistake. But like when they released all the steelbooks for
you say season 1.
Right. They say season 1 on the steelbook, whereas like WandaVision, they say the complete series.
Right.
And so you're like, well, that means they're planning a season 2 potentially.
Unless they want to do like Falcon, or which this would be a stretch.
Okay.
It's another Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not Captain America and the Winter Soldier, but it is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it follows now Falcon.
Right. Anthony Ramos, I think, is who's playing him. I could be okay with that. I really could. I really do wish though, like that's my one flaw in that. Maybe not one flaw. That's one of my flaws in that show, is that they didn't do like Captain America and like a new name for Bucky. It was like he still was just the Winter Soldier, which I think he's not really the Winter Soldier anymore. You know?
Yeah, I mean, but what do they end up calling him? The White Tiger?
I think so. Yeah. Which I know is not an amazing name, but like he does have another name that the Wakandans call him, you know? So
yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think that's possible, and I wouldn't mind seeing that. But I also think I would like to see Bucky and Cap again. You know.
But here's the thing, still in, and I know we're going off on a tangent here, but even in Falcon the Winter Soldier, he is still technically Winter Soldier. He's not like fully become like a different character. He's still wrestling with the past of what he did. And a lot of people still regard him as Winter Soldier.
Sure, but I think you were shown an arc through that series, and by the end he had overcome like what was holding him back from like really telling the truth to like somebody he considered a friend, but that he had really wronged in the past, you know?
But then that would have been the point to change it to Captain America and the White Tiger or whatever the fuck.
Right. Yeah. Which I don't know. Maybe that's a little awkward for people and wouldn't have landed as well, but
it's awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I think exciting details about this.
Yeah.
And
And we saw, and I guess one of the descriptions of Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk was like, it's just Red Hulk. It's his face. He's got red skin, black hair, and it looks like Harrison Ford. And I think one of the quotes was that Harrison Ford was saying, I just saw all these great actors having so much fun in these Marvel movies, and I wanted a piece of that. And I was like,
he said he's honored to be a part of this. And I was like, cool.
All right, Harrison. Like,
yeah.
Dope. I'm fucking happy, you know.
But I did hear him say also that like him doing the Red Hulk stuff was like, he's like, I've been an idiot on camera for money before. It doesn't really, like, it doesn't bother me, like something to that effect. And I was like,
I mean, he did a whole movie with a CGI dog. CGI dog on, not even on location, on like a fucking sound stage.
What are you doing, Harrison?
He loved that movie.
Yeah, well, not many people did.
Well, anyways,
yes. So
the next one,
right? The next one they showed off at MCU panel was they showed the first trailer of the Thunderbolts, which unfortunately hasn't been leaked online, and so we can't really watch this one. I mean, maybe it has, but we didn't find it. Yeah.
From all accounts, from what we were reading about it, like you have in our notes here, Yelena visits her dad, Red Guardian, calls him dad, which is kind of like a change of pace.
Yeah, but I know there's a little dark thing that like she says that like her purpose now is like killing. Like she just, that's her only purpose in life. So she's turned into a dark path for sure since we last saw her in Hawkeye. Yeah. But apparently we also get Ghost in a new costume. We get Red Guardian in a new costume because he came out on stage at SDCC and showed it off. So that looked pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, we get the plot detail that the movie starts with all the Thunderbolts assigned, like individually assigned to the same mission without them knowing somebody else is on it. And they're all set up at that job. So I'm not sure what organization they're all a part of to have been assigned a mission.
Right.
Maybe it's Saber. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is. But it's possible that, I don't know, because at that point, like you're thinking, oh, well, at that point, maybe they band all together at that point because they've all been set up and they choose to form this group as the members. But in my mind, it felt like what's her name? Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like she was setting up this whole group. So I'm like, well, where's her role in this? I'm not really sure.
Right.
So definitely not a lot of details yet.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, and also, God, what was it? I mean, besides them all being set up, they specifically stated that Thunderbolts has nothing to do with Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. Nothing to do with the name at all. Which is, well, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I am okay with it.
But then don't you think it's going to like, I don't know if you heard that rumor / report that like Thunderbolts, the reason they picked that name, like in the movie at least, is because like it was Yelena's like soccer team as a child.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm like,
watch.
Like,
look, if it's done well, and it has an emotional component to it, you're gonna be eating your words. Secondly, if it doesn't have an emotional component and it feels like natural and tone-wise to the movie of like, we gotta call ourselves something and it's funny or like whatever, I'm for it. Like, I don't give a fuck. I want to know what the fuck is up with the what would you call that?
Asterisk. I think it's an asterisk. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But I want to know what's up with that.
Yeah. For sure. And I don't think we'll know until the movie comes out, unfortunately. I think it's possible that it's not done terribly and it's done for emotional purposes in the movie. But I think it's a damn shame to give us Thunderbolt Ross as Red Hulk in the same year we get a Thunderbolts movie and have them not be connected in some way. I think it's almost the same mistake that like Shazam and Black Adam had, coming out months apart and not being connected almost in any way, you know?
Yeah. It is an asterisk. But yeah, sure. But maybe we're all being thrown for a loop and Red Hulk shows up in it at some point. And that was the big surprise.
That'd be great. I'd love that. But I don't think he would be a member. Like from what I hear, like Red Hulk's been a member of the Thunderbolts in the past, but I don't think that would ever happen. But yeah, what I'm really hoping is that everybody gets their time to shine in this movie, and that it's just a fun team up, and maybe it has some Suicide Squad energy, and yeah. But we didn't get too many details, but some new suits were shown, and the first plot detail of this movie kind of released. So yeah. But then we get Fantastic Four really heavily shown off at San Diego Comic-Con. It was given a new title. It's called Fantastic Four: The First Steps. It's still got the July 25 release date, even though the trailer that was shown off only said 2025. But they also showed off, like I said, they showed off a trailer, even though from what I heard, like the filming wasn't supposed to begin until Tuesday. So I guess they filmed a bunch of stuff beforehand and now they're filming. I don't know what happened. But this trailer leaked online, so Zack and I got to watch it. But yeah, the footage trailer that we saw, it starts off with Reed Richards like teaching a bunch of kids on a television program called Fantastic Science, and he's teaching them about alternate dimensions and parallel Earths, which leads right into our multiverse phase. And we get to see a ton of footage of their space mission, or I guess preparing for the space mission, and we get to see like the tower that they leave from, and the world of the Fantastic Four, and like the first look at their Fantastic Car.
Which, when I saw it floating around on the stage at the panel, I was like, I don't know how that's gonna work. Like I was like a little bit like, oh, but then I see it in the trailer and I'm like, oh,
it looks so good.
That looks great.
Yeah. It really moved around like it was a little spaceship. Yeah. And so they also showed off like a silhouette of the Thing in a little dating show from the 60s. And at the very end of the trailer, we got to see our first look at Galactus. So a lot was shown in this trailer.
By the way, for anybody who hasn't seen the leak, he does look like a large comic accurate
person,
celestial being.
Yeah. And his eyes are just peering through a building, and he's gigantic. So many things. Like, I feel like we didn't get to see a ton in this trailer, but in a sense we did, because we got our first look at Galactus. We got, all four of them in footage as the Fantastic Four in a sense. And we got the Fantastic Car, and I don't know. It's just, I think we also just got the vibe of what this movie truly is, where it truly is a retro future 60s era. And it's technology that we haven't seen in Earth 616. And I think that's going to be so exciting to be on an Earth that feels so different from what we've been getting.
Then when they inevitably come into the Earth 616.
Right. Yeah. I can't wait for their like reaction to just be like, why haven't you guys progressed as far as us? like what's going on here? Yeah.
And it's so, it's so interesting, the tone of it. It just feels so different
Yeah,
than anything other that like Marvel's made besides Eternals, because Eternals is very different, but in a
sure.
very different way. But
Yeah,
it's so interesting seeing this,
right.
the way that it was some of it was like shot in a 4:3 aspect ratio, which was
Yeah,
extremely interesting.
for sure.
It looked like in a lot of ways, like it looked like an art house 824 like movie. Like
Mm,
it had this like realism to it, but like a heightened reality about it. And it
right, right.
was, but it also felt like an independent movie in some ways, but with like great CGI and I was
Yeah,
like, I was just
great. Yeah, right.
like overall, I was like very impressed and like excited about it. I was like, we've never seen anything like it before. I'm
Right.
curious about the first steps added bit
Yeah.
about, which like some people are like a little iffy on it. I'm not crazy about it, but I don't mind it. Like
I don't mind it
I'm
at
more
all.
just curious how it's going to tie into everything.
And it's not like that's saying, oh, this is an origin movie, because they like came out and were like, we are not going to see the origin of them. We are going to pick up right after they get their powers, basically. So I know that still is somewhat origin-y,
Right.
but you're skipping over the part that we've already seen twice in past Fantastic Four movies. And I like they did it. Gosh, they did it recently too. Was it Batman? They skipped the origin. I mean, like it's just like when you come back. Oh, was it? No, that's what I'm thinking of. Spider-Man. Like when they did that in the MCU again, you just skipped his origin, and because like we already know who this character is. We know what happens to these guys to get these powers.
I mean,
you can just pick up afterwards.
Robert Pattinson Batman.
Yeah, we did, but he doesn't really get powers or anything. But yeah. But yeah, I think it's really great, exciting footage that we saw. It feels fresh. It feels new. I love everything about it, genuinely.
And is it Michael Giacchino that's composing the score, or is that
correct?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So he's composing it, and he's got a ton of range, and he's done a ton of great movies, and yeah, it's all coming together. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it looks better than I could have anticipated. Honestly,
And
especially with Galactus.
I just can't believe there's already like a trailer out, because
I was a little shocked about that.
I like we're a year out from it releasing. I mean, that's so long, you know.
But I wouldn't
especially
call that a
for
trailer.
movie.
I guess I call it just like a little teaser.
Yeah, sure. And I feel like a lot of that footage won't even be in the movie. Like a lot of the footage of them like going up for the space shuttle, and like the footage of them filming each other and like in their space suits and whatnot. Like I don't think we're really gonna see any of that, because that's before the movie picks up, where they're at. So it's possible that they just.
I think it's either like something that's used as like marketing, or it's something that'll happen in the first few minutes as like just like, let me bring you up to speed.
Right, right. So I don't know. It feels like it's more and more possible that this movie does reach a July release date, because it's further along than I really thought it was. Yeah. Because if they already have footage of the car and of Galactus, like that's a lot. Like you've already done a lot of the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very exciting footage. Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe the most exciting news is the last bit that they teased and showed us at the end of their panel. So first they showed that the next two Avengers movies have new release dates, and that one of them has a new title. So Avengers King Dynasty has now been retitled to Avengers Doomsday, and that's releasing May 2026. And Avengers Secret Wars is now releasing May 2027, and that also has a new logo to go along with Secret Wars.
Right.
So those look cool. I think a lot of us are, and I know you're probably not one of them, but are a little disappointed that the Kang storyline never really went anywhere.
I mean, I'm disappointed that it didn't go anywhere. Right. I am. I'm just
because right, I really did like
losses,
the build up. Sure,
I did,
sure.
But
and now, like in a sense, like Infinity War, we had been leading up to that since 2012 in the MCU, right? And now it feels like the next Avengers movie we haven't really been building up to in a sense, but I don't know. I think it's still very exciting to have Doctor Doom as the next like villain of an Avengers movie. And the big reason, I guess, also behind that is because we got the announcement that Robert Downey Jr. will be back in the MCU in a new role as Doctor Doom. There has been a lot of debate I've seen about whether this is good or, you know, whether people would rather have had a more true version of Doctor Doom than a Robert Downey Jr. version. I think I'm incredibly excited about this. I know I'm not like the biggest Doctor Doom fan, but I don't mind the MCU taking liberties with its stories in a sense. And I know it's not like one of the biggest storylines in comics, but I think like, you know, Tony Stark has become an evil version of Doctor Doom before. It's not like a super common thing in the comics, but it has happened. And I think they'll definitely pull from that story, because why even cast Robert Downey Jr. if he's not connected at all to Tony Stark, you know? I don't know. Like, to me, that feels like a wasted opportunity, right?
Right. I mean, so like you said, there's been a lot of debate about this. Some people are saying, oh, this is just a safe choice for Marvel. I understand people's lines of thinking about it. Okay, so Marvel's been struggling. How do we increase hype again? We'll bring Robert Downey Jr. back.
Right.
Safe bet. Granted, everybody loves Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is a big part of the MCU. MCU is Tony Stark is Tony Stark. Mm-hmm. And I feel differently, because to have your lead character or one of your lead guys from all of Marvel come back to play a completely different role, supposedly, which we can go into,
sure,
I think is way riskier, because you run the gambit of people being upset about damaging the legacy of like Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark in the MCU.
Right.
You are already potentially messing with the character of Victor Von Doom by having Robert Downey Jr. play him, depending on how they do this.
Right.
There is an argument to be made that it could be a safe pull instead of getting somebody new. But I think it's quite exciting. I think they needed to have like a big name attached to draw attention to it. And I don't think that, like, yes, you would get some buzz if it was somebody else, but it doesn't feel like a safe bet that it's going to work, that it's like a safe bet that people are going to like it, but find it extremely interesting and exciting.
I think it does run the risk of like disappointing the Victor Von Doom fans like heavily, because if you don't use Victor Von Doom in this, then which I think in casting Robert Downey Jr., that would be a mistake to make him Victor Von Doom, because I mean, like you said, like there are a lot of casual moviegoers, and if you see Robert Downey Jr. again, you're like, is that Iron Man? Like what's going on? You know? And I don't know. So, I just think like if you connect it all and make him this variant of Tony Stark, I think it serves him coming back in a much better way than him just playing a new character.
Right. So there's a couple theories that I have and that I've heard about how this could work out. Now, granted, Joe and Anthony Russo did say this is the guy who's going to be playing Victor Von Doom.
They said that. Okay.
So take that with a grain of salt.
Sure.
But these are the ways that I've been thinking about it in the last less than 24 hours.
Uh-huh.
Which is one of the prevailing theories that was going on a couple weeks prior to San Diego Comic-Con. This is because we're dealing with another universe with the Fantastic Four, and dealing with multiverse in general, and with the fact that it is Robert Downey Jr.'s face, which everybody is going to know.
Right.
in the MCU, that he is a variant of Tony Stark who, let's say he didn't have his come to Jesus moment in the desert in the first Iron Man, or it turned out really bad, his experience in the desert. Something happens. He still wants to protect the world, but doing it his own way. And when he says like new mask, same task, maybe it's him wanting to still protect the world, but he's doing it in a more kind of nefarious way. So that is one possibility. Another possibility is that maybe Tony Stark in another reality, something happened, especially to his parents, never knew that he was Tony Stark, grew up in like Latveria and was adopted and called like Victor instead, and just was only known as Victor Von Doom.
I've also heard that in the storyline that like people are talking about where he becomes like a variant of Tony Stark becomes like Dr. Doom, is that he uses the alias of Victor Von Doom, even though like Tony Stark is his name. I'm not really sure how that works in a storyline, but I think there's a lot of possibilities where you have him playing Victor Von Doom, even though he's a like a variant of Tony Stark.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other option would be that he is straight up playing Victor Von Doom, and we're just gonna have to like, just kind of deal with the face. Right. I don't know. I feel
that's my least favorite outcome, to be honest.
I feel like that's not the case, or like he just keeps the mask on the whole time and we never see the face.
Well, and here's the thing: like the reason like that he has the mask, isn't it like because his face is like pretty disfigured? So maybe his face is disfigured enough that we don't even see Robert Downey Jr.'s actual face. Which is like. Yeah. Like, yeah, even if he takes the mask off, I'm saying like there's enough like prosthetics underneath where you don't even recognize him.
Exactly.
Maybe.
But part of what's interesting about him is that rivalry with Reed Richards.
Yeah.
And so, but here's the thing. The same way that we got the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, but we eventually got Mandarin, the real Mandarin in Shang-Chi, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that this possible variant of Tony Stark, Dr. Doom, couldn't at the end of Secret Wars just end up being a new Dr. Doom that we follow for the rest of the MCU, the same way that we're most likely going to get a new Wolverine that's not going to be Hugh Jackman.
Right.
Regardless, I don't think it's a safe bet. I think that what they're doing, they pulled Robert Downey Jr. back because obviously I knew Robert Downey Jr. was going to come back one way or another. That's what I always believed. But that
you were right. I really didn't believe it. I didn't.
And they have somebody came up with a story. We had talked about that they wanted to focus on Dr. Doom, right? And they went to a retreat, a Marvel retreat, and they wanted to. There was rumors that they wanted to move away from Kang. Obviously, they kind of have, unless we find out that like Kang is somehow still a part of the story in a lesser way.
Sure.
But somebody came up with the idea of like, well, what if narratively we get to see the same way that Hugh Jackman gets to play a variant of Logan and Deadpool and Wolverine that's different but still kind of the same. We get to see Tony Stark come back, play it in a different way, is a new character, but is as Dr. Doom, and like hopefully there's a strong enough idea and a good enough idea that people went with it. I hope it's not the pessimistic idea of my brain that's like, oh, well, we need Dr. Doom. What if,
what if we brought back our favorite actor?
Yeah, what if we brought back like the name that's going to garner the most buzz?
Right. I just feel like without the face, I don't know if most people would know that Robert Downey Jr., like, unless you have it on the posters everywhere of like Avengers Doomsday. And, it's like, if you don't include his face, then like, will people really flock to the theaters to see Robert Downey Jr.? I don't know.
Absolutely. They'll have his name. He'll be doing press. People will know. And if his face is hidden behind the mask for a good amount, like there's still so much you could do. Like the same way maybe this isn't a great comparison, but like I still think Tom Hardy did a good enough job with Bane that like you could still
Sure.
get some stuff out of like wearing that mask, you know.
Sure.
But
yeah.
anyways,
but here's the thing, like I didn't know that was Tom Hardy when I saw that movie until like years later, you know.
Wow.
So I don't know. I think they're like you said, there's casual moviegoers who just don't pay attention to press junkets and all that kind of stuff, and it's possible that they just don't know. But I don't know. I think most routes they go with Doctor Doom, it's gonna work well. I don't think there's a route, or maybe not many routes that I think they can take where they can mess this up. So
I'm hopeful that if not this time around, then later on there's a rendition of Doctor Doom that's a bit more comic accurate.
Right.
Or maybe this version is going to be kind of comic accurate. Or maybe this is just how we're going to do it because all the previous versions of Doctor Doom never worked. Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the only time that we'll get Doctor Doom.
I mean, it has to be better than the last one, right? The last one in Fantastic.
And I do, and a little bit of like fan history, comic book movie history. Robert Downey Jr. auditioned to be Doctor Doom in the original Fantastic Four movies that came out, and he didn't get the part.
Kevin Feige really wanted him. Yeah. So that is very cool. I actually totally forgot about that. But yeah, they also, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, they also confirmed that he's going to be in both the next Avengers movies as Doctor Doom.
Well, he has. If you know the Secret Wars story, he has to be.
Right, yes. Right. But then they also confirmed that Fantastic Four will also be in both the next Avengers movies. So I do believe he will be in Fantastic Four. I don't think so too. I don't think he'll be a major role, but he'll be introduced, and we'll see him at the end of the movie. I think get transported along with, or maybe he'll be the cause for the transportation. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, we got him, I think, confirmed for 3 more movies, which is so exciting. Yeah. I mean, bombshell news this weekend. I don't think we neither of us could believe it.
I mean, it was insane. And I fucking told you that they're going to announce Joe and Anthony Russo to direct.
Yeah. They did.
I told you they had those names on lock. And
I'm so happy. And like they I don't know if you heard, but they were like, we truly thought we were done when we directed Avengers Endgame. We were like, that was everything we ever gave to the MCU. But I'm so happy that they have a reignited passion for it, and that we're going to get their beautiful directing in both the Avengers movies, and that we have an amazing actor back for it. Like, it really does feel like we're back in the heyday of Marvel, and the possibilities are endless. So it's a really great time.
It feels like it, but they need Captain America and Thunderbolts to be great movies.
They do. Those need to nail it. You're right. And they need to move the needle, or maybe not, like move the arc, the narrative of the MCU forward towards Avengers.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.